There is a standard baseline for human survival known as the rule of threes. The human body can typically survive 3 minutes without air, 3 hours exposed to harsh elements, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. But there is a hidden underlying vulnerability that overrides all of those physical limits. You cannot survive 3 seconds without hope. Medical researchers have documented a condition called give-up-itis, or GUI. GUI is a phenomenon where individuals experiencing extreme traumatic situations suffer a sudden loss of willpower and literally will themselves to die, completely shutting down their own bodies. A person can hike into the wilderness with top-tier gear, years of bushcraft training, and flawless physical health. If they suffer psychogenic shock and lose the desire to live, none of those physical advantages matter. A successful rescue depends on a neurological race to patch brain glitches before the environment can exploit them. The survival sequence begins with the impact phase. This is the violent, sudden shift from your safe, intrinsic everyday life into a deadly, extrinsic reality. At the moment of impact, the brain floods the body with a heavy cocktail of cortisol and adrenaline. This chemical surge actively restricts the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational planning, and forces the body into a state of blind, reactionary panic. The 1:10 rule defines the window for cold water immersion. That first minute is the critical gap, where a victim must override the gasp reflex to prevent drowning. To regain cognitive function, you have to force a manual override using an acronym like STOPA. STOPA stands for sit, take a breath, observe, plan, and act. By forcing yourself to execute these rigid steps, you build a mental barricade against panic. Reining in that initial chemical flood is the absolute prerequisite for survival. If you cannot lock down your mind in that first minute, the rest of the survival sequence ceases to exist. If you survive the impact, you enter the recovery phase. The first 72 hours following a disaster are statistically the deadliest window for psychogenic death. During this period, an overwhelmed working memory triggers a response known as normalcy bias. This is a cognitive glitch where people freeze up or stubbornly attempt to repeat their daily, routine habits instead of adapting to their new, dangerous environment. At the onset of the 2020 pandemic, populations cleared out entire aisles of non-essentials, a stimulus-driven reaction that favored immediate action over rational planning. The human brain naturally tries to formulate a comprehensive long-term plan to escape the situation. In an extrinsic survival scenario, that massive cognitive load overwhelms the system and causes neurological paralysis. To survive the recovery phase, you have to actively suppress the urge to look at the big picture. Processing the true scale of the peril you are in will quickly destroy your remaining hope. Mountaineer Joe Simpson utilized a technique called compartmentalization when he fell and shattered his leg inside a 70-foot-deep crevasse in the Peruvian Andes. Simpson ignored the impossible 8-mile journey back to camp, choosing instead to fracture the path into isolated micro-goals, like reaching a single red rock 20 minutes away. Achieving these micro-goals provides a steady drip feed of dopamine to the brain. This manufactures the exact type of hope necessary to stave off give-up-itis and keep the body moving forward. When sheer exhaustion threatens to break that focus, survivors rely on the 40% rule, popularized by David Goggins. This rule states that when your mind tells you that you are completely tapped out, you have actually only used 40% of your true energy reserves. Shrinking your reality down to 20-minute windows, while recognizing that your perceived physical limits are mostly a neurological illusion, is the exact formula required to survive impossible odds. You cannot learn cognitive resilience while your plane is actively crashing. The ability to adapt and suppress panic has to be systematically conditioned long before disaster strikes. A robust survival mindset operates heavily on the principles of Stoicism. This ancient philosophy focuses on the absolute acceptance of pain and the necessity of radical adaptability. Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius summarized this mindset. A physical impediment actually advances action. Whatever obstacle stands in your way must become the path forward. After the 2011 tsunami, survivors waiting for water were told supplies ran out. They responded with silence and composure, walking away without a single complaint. You can build this psychological callus by intentionally inducing low-level stress into your daily life. Rigorous physical exercise, wilderness medical training, and purposefully embracing failure all force your brain to practice remaining calm under pressure. Survival training forges the mental machinery required to navigate everyday adversity, ensuring the mind is ready for the crisis that has yet to happen.